other cases, we were not. But I have yet to find a circumstance where the MEK revealed information about Iran's nuclear weapons program that was not entirely consistent with the information that the United States had. The MEK, I think, has served a large and important international interest because of its ability to reveal the clandestine activities of the regime in Tehran in contravention of repeated resolutions by the Security Council and the International Atomic Energy Agency. Now, this brings us to the question, obviously, of the dangers to the innocent people at Camp Ashraf, and really the fundamental question still outstanding of why the MEK is on the list as a foreign terrorist organization. I looked into this when I was in the government, knowing what the MEK was doing in its public releases of information to try and find out how this designation had taken place. And I have to say that what I uncovered was that in the late 1990s it was felt that if the MEK were put on the list, that would make the regime in Tehran more amenable to negotiations to end the nuclear weapons program. Well, that certainly worked out well, didn't it? It not only had no effect on the Ayatollahs, I am convinced that it led them to believe that the United States was dealing from a position of weakness and simply encouraged them to continue with the program. Now, I have to say, disappointingly, at the end of the Bush administration, when the designation was reviewed, the determination was made to keep it on the list for essentially the same reason, that it might help convince the regime in Tehran that the time for negotiation had come. And that failed too. Now, here are two instances of non-factual reasons being used to put and keep the MEK on the list. I think that reasoning is fundamentally flawed. I don't think anybody ought to be on the FTO list based on political rationales, whether to reward an organization or to punish an organization. Just as I think on the list of state sponsors of terrorism, the designation has to be factually based. The decision to put a country on that list has to be factually based and not driven by policy. And in the case of the MEK, I don't claim to have seen all of the information, but I didn't see anything when I was in the government that justified them being on the list. And we've got public statements by officials of great integrity and service to the United States who have testified about the work the MEK did. We've had very senior officials in American intelligence and counterterrorism activities that have talked about the work they've done with the MEK. We have repeated testimonials by senior American military officials during the days of the American military presence in Iran who have talked about their cooperation and the renunciation of terrorism, the disarming of Camp Ashraf. And now we've got a Court of Appeals of the United States that has told the State Department it must come up with a fresh review of this question. Now, it's been a long time since that court decision has been handed down, and I think it's time for the State Department to make a factually based determination, not swayed by policy one way or the other. Let's have the facts fall where they may. Let's look at all the facts and let's get this decision. And let's, in particular, however long that takes, and it's already taken too long, let's have the United States abide by the commitment it made to protect the residents of Camp Ashraf. Let's follow through on the important amendment that the House Foreign Affairs Committee adopted last week. Let's put pressure on the United Nations to do what it should do for legitimate refugees, which is provide them protection and assistance. And let's insist that the government of Iraq live up to the commitment that it made to the United States to protect the people of Camp Ashraf. This is not a political argument. This is a humanitarian argument, and it's in the finest tradition of the United States to pursue that sort of objective. It ought to be in the tradition of a representative government in Iraq, and it certainly ought to be in the tradition of the United Nations. Thank you very much.